Peace and love. This is your brother, Grant Kush, the Nine Mind God. Let's look into this interesting information here. This is ethnic groups of the United States from 1820 to 2023. Now, I haven't started it yet, but as you can see, who is supposedly the top race in America in 1820, who is the top race? It's the English. Okay. Now, if you don't know, the English are the British, right? The English are the British. Okay. Dealing with the slave trade. You got African Americans next. Okay. Now, some of y'all believe the African American in America is really the Native American or American Indian. American Indians, Black American Indians with no African ancestry.
Why do Africans and Black Americans look so different? The answer might be linked to Europe. Black people make up over 12% of the US, forming the second largest ethnic group of the country. They may descend from sub-Saharan Africans, but there is a reason why they differ from them. The first African slaves arrived in the 16th century. Those people were mostly from West and Central Africa. That marked the beginning of Black history in the US. So what makes African Americans so special? Black Americans have European admixture, ranging from 15 to 30% on average. This ancestry is of mostly British origin, and it had an impact on their physical appearance. Black Americans have a wider range of skin colors, with the average being lighter than West Africans. A small minority can also have green or blue eyes, depending on their level of European DNA. So there is really no need to ask, why do Africans...
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have Native Americans in the seventh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, seventh slot. Okay. Now, the Native American is supposedly or allegedly the original people in America. Now, according to your self-proclaimed chief, Dane Calloway, Native American is just like saying American, right? Or the Native Americans are referring to the original colonizers, the American Party called the Know Nothings.
This is how you know it was us first, because before it was considered reservations. What were they called? Concentration camps. Before concentration camps, they were called public labor
At the
camps.
Okeechobee labor camp.
Did we see any Native Americans go through so-called slavery? Because that's the land that they're talking about. Were they on the plantations? No, these people are brand new. They just got here. And you can't trace Native American to American Indian by way of paperwork. That's a brand new term that just started in the 1970s. I put that out there too. The first time that you heard the term Native American was from the Native American Party, the Know Nothings, the third largest political party during the time period of the Federalists and the Whigs. They were fighting for rights then as foreigners. So that's why I tell people to stop calling yourself Native, because that has nothing to do with you. You're indigenous to this land. You're not a visitor. This is how.
According to Dan Calloway, right? Now, what you're going to find is that the English, the Irish, the Dutch, and the German, right, is going to start moving up to the top. And we know why that happened. Okay. There was a boatload of gang of immigrants that came in here after the 1820s. Okay. Now we got to think about enslavement. Okay. Because the angle that I'm throwing on this presentation is race mixing. Okay. Race mixing with the Negro, with the Africans that came in here, right? Now, do I agree that Africans were here before the colonizers came, yes, I do attest to that. Black people were seafaring people before any people. Okay. They were seafaring people before any people. Right. Now, when it comes down to name changing, changing of a people, changing of last names, identifying, hold on, people. I'm texting my wife. All right. So, yeah. So, what I want to talk about is the race mixing. Okay. Especially when it comes down to in America, old African Negroes, right? And then the new Negro, which is mixed. Okay. Which is mixed. All right. And so those who are claiming to be pure indigenous Niiji, you are not. Okay. And this ethnic chart might get you to see some things, right? We are a mixed people. I'm talking about the original founding Black people in America. Okay. Those who fought in the Civil War, those who were here before the war started, those who fought in the Indian Wars, those who fought in the wars, right? My people fought in the wars. Okay. But the things that are making Black people in America claim to be American Indians, you don't understand that you may have a lot of European blood in you. Okay. I've done my ancestry, whether it's true or not, based on the breakdown. I have a lot of German blood in my lineage, right? Some of you might have Irish. Some of you might have English. Okay. Some of you might have Dutch, right? And so what I want to do is just go ahead and play this for a little bit and y'all watch the numbers flip. Okay. Now you see on here off the rip, there is no American. There's African American and there's Native American. But when it comes down to the Europeans, okay, there is no American yet. You understand what I'm saying? So let's let this play and watch how these ethnic groups flip. I'm gonna pause it right when some of the pinpoints, some of the points come up. I'm gonna pause it and speak on it. Now we're at 1826. This is 6 years. Okay. The Germans is moving up. The Irish is moving up, right? Let's go. American ancestry refers to the people in the U.S. who self-identify their ancestral origin or descent as American, rather than officially recognized racial or ethnic groups. Okay, so you see at the bottom, by 1829, okay, who is claiming American? Who is claiming American, right? Who are the Americans? It's 43,000 Americans. It's 5 million English, 1 million Germans, 1 million plus Irish, right? And the Dutch number almost doubles, okay, the American number. Who is the American right now? Leave a comment down at the bottom and let us know who you think is the American right now. They are the descendants of who? Okay, let's go. Native American still in the same spot. Okay. American is moving up. The majority of these are visibly white Americans who are far removed from or no longer self-identify with their ethnic ancestral origins. Okay, so based on this, these Americans are the whites who have been here, okay, based on this count, right? We know the whites came in earlier, but from 1820 to 1833, that's 13 years, right? And so now there are 126,875 American whites who identify as American, right? And so this gives you, or this you can bring in right here, the 1828 definition of an American, right? The copper colored people, but the definition was applied to the descendants of the colonizers born on American land. 1833, let's continue. The Germans just surpassed in 1837, okay, just surpassed the African American. And it says at 1837, they tend to be Anglo-Americans of English, Irish, Welsh, Scottish, or other British ancestries who are claiming American. They are not American, though. They are foreigners. And these people, these so-called Americans, are either Scots, Irish, British, Welsh, Germans, okay, who are also mixing together, okay, also mixing with the African American, okay, whether forced or not forced, because we got to understand the mixing was not just a forced thing when it comes down to these ethnic races in America, right? Some black people, some black men and women have an affinity to dating outside of their races or outside of their race, or growing families outside of the race. Okay. And so the prominent thing in America is, all right, this is one country where mixing, whether forced or not forced, heavily took place. All right. Another country where race mixing heavily takes place when it comes down to these Europeans is England. Okay. You might have it in France, right? Do we have the French on here? We have the French under the American, under the Native American. Okay. So English, Germans, Irish, Dutch, Irish, Scottish, Welsh, and the French openly have do not mind race mixing with black people. Okay, they don't mind it, right? You gotta think of the abolitionists and things of that nature. All right. You got to also think about, okay, as I'm breaking down this melanin, your melanin is very important. Okay. Because you melanin is void of cancer. And so when the straight hair ghost racist, excuse me, and what I mean by ghost, straight hair ghost racist void of you melanin. Okay. When they mix in with black people, they are making their genes stronger, long lasting, right? And so these people are the people who tied in with the African in America. All right. And the results of that today are people who are claiming to be indigenous Niiji with no African in them. Okay. They not even talking about the white people that are in their blood. Okay. This is why the argument that they're trying to provide and bring is senseless, is baseless, because when you talk about genealogy, when you talk about genetics and genes in America, you have to speak on this. Okay. Now, are these numbers true? I don't know. This is a YouTube video that I'm using as a reference. I don't know how the population in 1837 when it comes down to these ethnic races, but let's continue to go. So we see who the American is, right? Now, in 1837, would African Americans be calling themselves indigenous Niiji? Would they be calling themselves colored? Would they be calling themselves Negroes? Okay. What would African Americans in 1837 be calling themselves? If anything, they are more connected to the African than the Native American. Okay. And at this point, what is interesting is there's 2 million plus African Americans here. The Native American, based on wars and things of that nature, and Dan Calloway saying there was a Native American Holocaust. The majority of Native Americans were shipped to Europe and to Spain. They came back as African Americans. Nah, bruh. The African American, okay, the African American is the Americans, so-called Americans, the immigrants, right? That's the American aspect, tying in with Africans from Africa. Okay. The Native American, okay, the numbers are so low, and this is why you have low percentages of Indian blood in you. Black people have low percentages of Native American or American Indian blood. You can claim whatever you want to claim. You can claim whatever you want to claim. But when it comes down to heritage, lineage, traditions, cultures of a people, okay, those claiming to be indigenous Niiji do more African things than they do American Indian things. You can't replace what African Americans did with this is the culture of the indigenous Niiji, right? And rub out the African. Let's keep going. (1844). Okay, 100 years later, you know, they dropped the bomb. You got to put in there the Philadelphia experiment. Okay, right now, pseudoscientific racism is kicking off. Okay. Now, the Irish, the English, and the German is on top of the African American. Right? And so these people are the reasons that Black people have had it so hard in America, right? Inclusive of the so-called American at 751,000 plus. Okay. What is the relationship with the so-called American and his ancestors or her ancestors, which would be the British, the Germans, the Irish, and the Scots? Okay. They are not identifying with their ancestors anymore. They're claiming themselves to be American. Right? Now, where does the term American even come from? Leave comments down at the bottom. Let's go. Now look at the American at 1846. Okay. Jump 2 spots. We're not even at 1865 yet. Even though Blacks were enslaved, Blacks were doing a lot. After 1865, okay, we were halfway into matching the economic power of these immigrants. Right? We're not even at 1865 yet. So this is bondage for the African American. We know there were some African Americans or some Blacks in America who owned slaves and who were free. Okay, that's all inclusive of this number, this 3 million plus number. Okay. Are these African Americans self-identifying, though, as an indigenous Niiji or an Indian? Couldn't be. Now, they'll say, well, they forced us not to use the term Indian. What type of pussy shit is that? If you were Indian, you were Indian, right?
Oh, yes, that wish I was white kind of thing, when you begin to sort of get the feeling of difference, like maybe you're dirty, something's wrong. But there was that feeling, so early you can't even remember where it started. I'm not over it yet. It's part of my American heritage.
We were told we were a people without a past and without a future. And Negro boys and girls learned before very long that they were something special.
At an early age, as soon as you start school, you begin to catch on to the whole racial thing. But once you get into school, you begin to know it and know there's a difference, and that the difference is against you.
African Americans, Negroes, Blacks fought under what we were identified as. Right. Even though it changed. So we were colored, we were Negro, we were Black, we were African American. Does that really mean anything? Okay. Because out of all of that, it wasn't like when we were coloreds, we were a different type of people. And then we became Negroes, we were different type of people. And then we were Black, we were a different type of people. African American, we became a different type of people. Right. The only thing that's going on with Black people is the intercoursing. right? The intermingling with these immigrants.
Mr. Moore, do you think that the so-called Negro would dignify his identity by associating himself with his ancestral background from Africa?
After some 300 or 400 years of transplantation from Africa into America, it is obvious that we are not Africans anymore. We are Afro-Americans, Americans of African ancestry. And that connects us, basically, with our original heritage and culture.
That's the only thing that's happening to Black people, is the connection and the mixing of cultures. Okay? That's what's happening. Now, with all these name changes, Africa never lost grip within these changes. Okay? There may have been some Negroes out there that say they don't identify with Africa. Okay? But that's a new concept of thinking once Black people were able to educate themselves. Okay? When did education come in? When did Black people start getting educated, and were all Black people educated at the same time? Like, we all got to go to school today? No. Black people were living their lives and stayed connected to their ancestral line.
Director of the program is John Henrik Clark.
This accomplishment is generally glossed over or neglected in human history. A lot of this, the misconception of Africa and the distortion of African history, is involved in a word that is relatively new, the word Negro. A kind of nickname that grew out of European laziness, the inability or the lack of a desire to give Africans their proper identity. In the period when the Europeans had to justify the exploitation of Africa and the demeaning of a whole people, they systematically started the effort to read the African out of human history.
They want you to think that Black Dane Calloway wants you to think that Black people are subdued under the power of the white oppressor, and that we can't think for ourselves and we don't know who we are, right? And so today is the day and the time to be an indigenous Niiji. The fuck out of here, man. When you talking about the African American, you talking about the strongest race, the strongest stocks. Okay. Out of the African. Right? The diversity, the things that we had to deal with in America. There can't even be no African versus African American conversation. There can't be no hate there. God did this, right? For whatever reason. You can go into the Bible and say 400 years of bondage. You can do this. You can do this. Clearly and obviously, when you look at this chart, all races have a time in power, okay? But y'all was kings and queens way back then. It's a timeline, right? Michael Jordan was in a spot. Who came after Michael Jordan? Who came after that person? Who came after that person? Kobe Bryant. You understand Kobe Bryant. You understand? Things change, but Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan is not debating on whether, hey, I'm a Negro, and Kobe Bryant like, nah, nigga, today it's an indigenous Niiji. Nah, man. We're not doing that. The African American, right? The new Negro with African ancestry is the strongest stock on this planet right now. Everybody around the world is trying to get like us. That's not just to be biased and hype up the African American.
They go past black folk at 200 miles an hour to pass them. That's why in all these cities, in Chocolate City, they do better right here in Chocolate City. Now they're underneath the immigrants. Immigrants, they come in the country, they get a point over black folk for being an immigrant. Blacks are the only non-immigrant. 2, all of them are classified as whites. The Arabs, Asian, Hispanics, they all been reclassified as whites. Even American Indians back in the 1890s became classified as whites. They get a point. That's the second point. They get over black folk in getting access to resources and benefits. The third thing they get the benefits for being put into a minority category. They're classified as minorities over black folk. Thirdly, they come in with a culture that they can establish a culture that they can now build businesses and industries and relate back to their homeland. And lastly, what they can do, they also bring in a religious aspect and business opportunities for their people. Black folk get nothing. Immigrants.
The African Americans are the coolest people right now on the fucking planet. Whether we hood, we sophisticated, educated, we high economists, capitalists, we in the streets, we thugging, well, whatever we doing. The problem with the black man and the black woman in America is having to compete against English, German, Irish, Scots in a country where we've been since day one. When they was here, we was here. Okay, when they start numbering the people in America, we was here. This is our problem because they've snaked in, they've taken, they've stolen, they've changed their last names. Okay, these people can't have last names like, you know what I'm saying, all the names they got today, Washington, you know what I'm saying, Baker. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, they've changed their ancestral last names to fit the American way of life. So they won't be pointed out, right? Their ancestors won't be pointed out for what they did to black people in America. Black people should always and forever, until things change, talk about what these people did to our people, because they make it seem like, based on the laws and the government and things of that nature, that we should be happy and we should just accept the status quo. No, nigga, you would not be where you are today without the African American, all that emotional, racial, so-called American talk. See, that's what that is, that American talk. Like we not true Americans. We are the truest of Americans. Okay? We got our hands dirty first. We got our hands dirty. You understand? This is not a racial thing. But it is a racial thing. Okay? It is an ethnic thing. And they want us to suppress ourselves. Right? Let's continue to go, man. Let's continue to go, because this is interesting, man. Because we got to wake up. We got to wake up, man. We got to wake up and identify with ourselves. Inclusion and acceptance. I mean, that's what integration was for. And look what happened. They was able to stay on top of our necks. When white people was not fucking with black people, right, still exploiting us. When white people was not fucking with black people right after slavery, we got to work. I mean, after 1865, after the Civil War, we got to work. Okay? We couldn't do nothing different than what they was doing. All we can do was innovate, but we couldn't do anything different. So we had to get like them. Y'all ever play that game, Get Like Me? I do something, you try to copy it, you don't copy it, you out. That's what they was doing. Get like me. That's what we had to do. But today, you understand what I'm saying? It's major knowledge out there, whether you claiming a colored or Negro or black, an indigenous, Niiji, American, Indian. What does this change? When basically this all has to do with the color of skin. Okay? This all has to do with how they describe us. Let's continue. The Native American, who are the Native Americans? They're not even growing. They're not even growing. You see, we're not even at 1865 yet. We're coming up to 1865. So in these wars, the Civil War, right? The English is still at the top. We don't even see the British. It's the English, right? They still at the top. Irish is kicking in hard. The Germans is kicking in. They self-identify as who they are with their religions. They brought in the Christianity that black people love today. They brought in the Christianity. So when I'm talking about Jesus and all of that, I'm trying to reason in the capacity that that's them. Jesus is them. They made Jesus. They made Jesus for them. Just like the Jews made Superman, DC Comics, and all of that for them. Okay. Now, whites is them agreeing with each other against the African American. But it was a time where they didn't even agree with each other. And what are the rules, laws, and fundamentals of this living in 1857 with these ethnic races? How do they live amongst each other? English is not Irish. Irish is not German. I mean, they're the same people, but Germans wasn't trying to be English. Irish wasn't trying to be German. You see what I'm saying? And you got the African American. And then look, who are the Americans? I'm going to keep asking that question. Who are the Americans? Where are the mulattoes? The Americans are mulattoes. They obviously not Native Americans. Okay. And based on this, even though there's American and African American, they're not these people, these Americans who are claiming this land. And these Americans are not German, Irish, English anymore, right? And this is where we got to chop in. This is where 9 Science comes in at, right? Because they got us stuck in the past, man. Like, we the Egyptians, you know, is Jesus black? Is nigga, you melanin, nigga. You understand what I'm saying? You melanin. The science on you melanin, the first people on the planet had to be black, lived in the sun zone, had woolly hair, right? Y'all keep trying to include the straight hair races in the mix. The straight hair races is a mix. Okay. The original hair for planet Earth, outside of the diversity, outside of genetics, going outside of the sun zone. The original human being on this planet, human being, is a black person with woolly hair. I dare somebody try to contend with that. Don't hit me with your emotions, right? Don't hit me with your emotions. Hit me with science. So if the Mexican come and try to be like, hey, that's racial, that's racism, bro. We talking about right racism. We talking about origins and defining who you are. So, all right, they be like, let me bring this up right quick, man. You be smoking that gas, you going on a tangent, right? So etymology. Y'all know what etymology is. Etymology basically is the origin of white words. Okay. It's the origin of white Anglo-Saxon words. Borrowed from the Greek and the Roman. You might have some Latin in there. At times, it may go back to the Coptic and things of that nature, depending on the word. It might go back to Arabic. It may go back to Hebrew, depending on a particular word, right? But this is the origin of white words. Okay. The American dictionary got American terms outside of the words that they used in their homelands, just like they Americanized their last names. You see what I'm saying? So let's do etymology of origin. They be like, man, you can't use the dictionary. You can't use, y'all always trying to define words, man. Stop being stupid, man. Okay. What you think they made the dictionary for? The etymology for? You understand? So let's look at that. Let's look at this and let's pay attention. Let's not make it anything other than what you reading right here, because that's the real game. The real game out here is comprehension. Being an intellect who comprehends, no matter what level of the game you are, that is the real game. Do you comprehend? Origin, original, right? Original. So when I say, what is the origin, right? What is the origin of Jesus? What is the origin of the Hebrews? What is the origin of the Egyptians? What is the origin of the Negro in America, right? So origin in its word, okay, because this is what 9 Science is dealing with, origins and terminations, right? Revolution and evolution. You see me? 1400s. Ancestry, race, from the Latin, origo, arise, commencement, a beginning, source, descent, lineage, birth. Okay. From ori, right? Now, when you start dealing with African languages into, right, the Afro-Asiatic languages into the Indo-European languages, right? Well, language comes from us. We spoke first. And so when the migrations happen, dialects, tongues changed, right? We can understand that. Arise, rise, get up, appear above the horizon. You see that? Above the Horus rising. We're dealing with the sun. What's above the horizon is the sun, right? Become visible, be born. And so when you understand your origin, right, then you're born again. They want you to think that you need to be baptized by John the Baptist, Jesus was baptized, right? People thought, y'all don't understand what you don't understand what the baptism is about. The baptism is not about cleansing of the sins, okay? People are going to do foul shit, fucked up shit, whether they Christians or not. Baptism means to change your mind, right? It means to change your mind. Look it up, okay? And so that means you're putting in a concentrated effort not to sin. That's what Christian is about in following Jesus Christ, okay? He came for mercy. You dig what I'm saying? And so baptism is to change your mind not to do sin, okay? If people were righteous on the planet Earth, if they did good in the sense of the understanding of Jesus's message, we wouldn't need Jesus, because Jesus himself said, I didn't come for the righteous. I didn't come for those who are not sick. I didn't come for the healthy. I came for the sickly. Okay, I came for those who, in a sense, need me, because I came for the sinners. I know the sinners is always going to be there, like prisons, right? Prisons exist because people are just going to do fucked up shit. You dig what I'm saying? And so you take that up the ladder, you get to Jesus Christ. And who does this empower? Them ethnic races that's sitting on top. The African American. Okay, this goes all the way back to the Hittite. This word, it goes all the way back to the Sanskrit. Okay, the Hindus, right, are the predecessors, are the gods and goddesses of the straight hair mankind, ghost races. They don't connect all the way back to the African. They got that when we was here in this melting pot. They don't connect to the African. They don't look to the African. They don't think the African is beautiful. They don't care about the African, even though we are the original people on this planet. Okay. They, like the Hindus, they are always trying to go over there and be Buddha, right? And all of that stuff. Be Hindi, be Krishna, Hare Krishna, all of that stuff. Okay? Be born, be descended, receive life. Some of us confused about how we got here. Okay? We talking about natural life. What is life? Life is outside of human beings. Plants are not humans, but they have life. What is life? Black people, as far as human beings, got the best part of life. Okay? Why are we in the situation that we're in? Mixing with these ethnic races. With that being said, y'all continue to stay great, like and subscribe. Leave a comment at the bottom what you think about this information, and I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.